stuff. So I started making my own spinner baits and my own jigs back when I was a kid. Just doing the do it mold things. And then later in life, I started making feather treble hooks. I did that for a few years, just selling them out of my house and just paint, you just put the trebles on the back of crankbaits or top waters and stuff. Um, and then here recently, back in I think 2008 or 2007 is when we got started. We started making the Bullshads. And so I've been making them for quite a while. And basically, I just got started making the Bullshads when I was guiding on 8-gallon tuna. Um, I struggled to catch big fish consistently. I caught them, but just not as consistent as I would like. Nobody ever catches them as consistent as they want. So I had to, saw the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I said, something's got to change. I know smaller will get me more fish. That ain't what I want. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to catch bigger fish. So what happens if we increase our size? And that's when things got interesting. By no means did I kill them, but I got more consistent than I was, And the cool thing about swim baits is you get to see a lot of these fish that you don't catch. They follow your baits a lot. So really, you learn a lot of information from where they're holding, not only when you catch them, but also when you see them. And you're able to make adjustments and try to, it gives you more confidence that, hey, I'm on the right path. I just may need to tweak something or come at a different time or change my angle or change my approach and stuff. So that's in the general idea of how I got started. When I first coming up with these things, I didn't plan on doing this for a living. I planned on just trying to get more big fish from my customers. And I was the only one in the East at the time, east of the Mississippi, doing this. I mean, Swimbaits was a Western type thing for years and years and years prior to this. And so it was, people just thought, well, it only works out West where they got big fish. Well, I was here to change their mind otherwise, So people flew in from all over to come 2 trips with me on in the East and learn how to fish these bigger baits. And it got to be a vicious cycle. I would guide, go home, make baits, sleep, guide, go home, make baits, sleep. People would buy them. I've gone to gas stations and people, hey, you're the swim bait guy. I heard a lot about you. And I would cut bait off my rod and just give it to them, and I'll sell it to them, whichever. But that's got to the point where it got overwhelming, and that's why I got out of the guiding business. I had to make a decision. Do I want to make baits or do I want to guide? I said, you know what? I can always come back to the guiding thing, And so I made the decision to stop guiding and do the swim bait thing. And you have to keep in mind, 16 years ago, the market was small. You had to grow it one person at a time practically, because people are like still to this day, you have to grow it, people are comfortable throwing these bigger baits. They still feel like they're too big for the fish. Fish eat these things and stuff, so you still get a lot of that. I go to 9 shows a year, and I see it many times a day. So there's still a lot of education needed out there to educate the general public about these bigger things. So, but that's in a nutshell is how I got started making them. And I will also say that, a little story, Cinco, it's an iconic bait. The Cinco was out for 7 years before it got popular. It took me 7 years to get off the ground with this thing, to where I was able to make it work for me, to be able to do it for a living, be able to do it full time. Actually, it took me longer than that because that's just when I just started hiring people part time to work, and then it was several years later before I started doing it full time. But that's a general nutshell how I got started in the baits. I didn't do it to make a living. I just did it to try to catch bigger fish for my clients. So that's how I got started.
Hey, Mike, real quick, Chad, I don't know if you can bring that we have several questions already for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people are asking questions already. Let me see. First of all, let me say, hey, what's up to Maria, because that's my wife. If I don't say hi to her, hey, happy wife.
You might as well just stay here
tonight. Hey,
Marie,
love you. But we got Dan said, what's up? Hey, what's up, Dan? Brian Dyson asked, what What's your best swim bait to throw over grass? The bluegill or the bullshad?
Um, our baits are extremely popular in Gunnersville, and it's full of grass. And what we sell, that's one of them. What we sell a lot of is Mike Carter, who is a guide on Gunnersville. He's been an extreme, huge help to me. He throws a lot of wake baits. Super easy. It's very simple, like that bait up there you have. Super easy to work. Just don't throw it on the matted grass. Just throw it on where you don't see grass, and you just crawl along and let the bait work. It just looks like a dying gizzard shad. That's one of the most baits that we use. That's very popular, and also is the bull shad. You throw it on the edge of the grass lines and you just burn it back. A little story about gizzard shad. We keep them in our tanks a lot. In my shop, I have a 2,200 gallon test tank where we test baits and stuff. But a couple times a year, I'll go grab some gizzard shad or some herring or some bluegill, and I'll throw them in there, and you sit there and learn. I don't have any aerator in there. They die eventually. So, but when they start to die, they seem like they float, and only thing that's sticking out of the top of the water is their tail, and it's just like this, and they're just V'ing, do that little V, and they just analyzing, just barely, looks like they're just barely swimming, and that's one of the stages of death that I've seen for how gizzards are when they're about to die. They come to the top and they start doing that little flip, and it looks exactly like a weight bait. So it just happens to mimic that fairly well. So, but those are the two main baits: is the regular bull shad, slow sink, or even the floater, and the weight bait.
So
and rats as well.
We got so many questions. I don't even know who to go with. Let's go with Phoebe, because go back to Phoebe. Phoebe asks, what would you recommend someone just getting into bass fishing? What should they focus on throwing? If they're just getting into fishing, should they go big swim baits or like what do you recommend?
I always tell people that are getting into swim baits to start with something small. Don't start big and go and just go kamikaze with it. You're going to lose interest quick. Start small. Baby bullshad is one of the reasons why we did that bait, is for get people more into the swim bait market. It's a great bait, a great starter bait. I mean, it gets beat anywhere. I even fished a baby bullshad at times when I go down to Florida. We go fish for peacock bass. We kill them on that thing. But start small. We have small 4-inch resin baits that we sell, but also any commercial ABS type bait, plastic bait that you can get. Just start small. Get your confidence in that bait. Catch a few fish. Work your way up. And what you'll learn is your fish size will start to increase more and more as you go up in size. However, your bite count will usually decrease. That's the general life cycle of a swim bait when you move up in size. But I will also say that I think the reason why swim baits work as well as they do is because there's so many people that are intimidated at throwing them. It's kind of like the A-rig, when it first came out. Nobody threw A-rigs back in the day.
What a killer bait.
And now people throw A-rigs, and now they're getting some condition to them a little bit. They're still great bait.
Put this on the A-rig on the bait. Hey, Mike, we got you guys want to ask another one of the questions? Because there's we got our questions, but the viewers got tons of questions coming in.
What's your favorite bait to throw for stripers, Mike? That you develop.
Ooh.
Who asked that? Greg Burke?
Yeah, Greg Burke asked that question.
I just started getting into stripers, actually physically targeting them last year. Those things are fun. I like to throw bigger baits with those, because they're bigger fish.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But I like to throw the glide baits like you have there. I like to throw 9, 11-inch bull shads. Big baits. They are ferocious feeders. You watch a lot of videos of guys in Tennessee. They're using skipjack 13 inches, 14 inches long. And if If it comes in the boat that's going in the lake, it's going under a hook and stuff. I mean, these things get 50 pounds. 11-inch bait is nothing for these things. So you just need to have the equipment to chuck it and equipment to pull it in. But big baits for stripers, that's definitely something I've got into. I've got a jet boat and I run the rivers and stuff. But that's a lot of fun, throwing those bigger baits for those fish in the small rivers and stuff. But
they are insane fighters.
That's
very,
actually,
very explosive fish.
That's actually a great segue to Miles' question. When Mike talking about running the rivers, because Miles asked tidal versus non-tidal with throwing swim baits. So I'm guessing if you're running the rivers, you fish some tidal water.
I'm sorry, you're the official tidal water.
Tidal. Tidal water.
No.
No tidal.
I don't have any tidal waters here, but what we run is basically rivers that tail races is a better word for it. But we're far from the ocean. But they stock these stripers in the lakes, and they're saltwater fish, but they stock them in the lakes here, hybrids as well. And what they do is in the summertime, water gets hot, they need to go upstream to get to the cooler water in order to be able to survive and stuff. So they either go really deep, but they get stratified by the thermocline a lot. So a lot of them go upstream to get that cooler water where the water's running and it's more shade. It's coming out from under a dam or shaded, and it stays cool year round.
We had another question. Dan, I believe it was. I don't see it on the screen now, but I believe it was Dan that asked, what would be so what is a good beginner swim bait?
The baby bullshad.
Yeah.
Baby bullshad would be one, yeah, absolutely.
The baby bullshad.
We have some 4 and 5 inch baits on our site. They're still our best sellers to this day. I mean, what you have to understand is the baits that I throw are not the best sellers. The baits that sell the most are the small 4, 5, and 6 inch baits. I throw 9 and 11 inch baits. It's not that the 4 and 5, 6s don't catch fish. I'm just looking I'm trying to target bigger fish. We are well known for our baits, the soft tail you have there, the weight bait, the 6 inch bullshad, 5 inch bullshad, 7 inch glide baits. Those are typically smaller swim baits. Those are by far the best sellers because they appeal more to the mass markets than the other bigger baits. The mass market is so much smaller than the big bait market. So there's really 2 different markets of swim baits. There's the guys that like the smaller stuff, and then there's the guys that like the big stuff, and then you have some overlap between some. So, but start small. Definitely start small.
You want to ask Brian's question?
The baby is more. You can get away with throwing it on some more conventional gear, whereas when you kind of get confidence and maybe throwing some of those 4-inch soft plastics, the baby like that, then, in my opinion, making the jump to a 6-inch burrito or a 6-inch glide or the 7-inch, like this is the 7-inch trick shad, and that, in my opinion, this matches the hatch very well for me around here. I think larger baits could get bit, but this is where my confidence lies. And generally,
how do you think you say that name? Is it Gerard? Either way, he said grab a 6-inch bone or an 8-inch bone swimmer and hold on tight. And then Brian Dyson said, have you ever fished a Chesapeake, Mike?
I have not. Like I said, I was born in Bowie, Maryland, but I only lived there since 1975. I moved from Bowie, Maryland to South Mississippi.
You're still in Maryland for life, dude.
I take that back. I fished a few times. I used to go to Winchester, Virginia, and I caught my first bass with my father while we were at a muzzleloader shoot in Winchester, Virginia. What's the name of that? There's a muzzleloader thing and skirmish thing in Winchester, Virginia. But anyway, I caught it there while we were camping. So I started in the West, started fishing there, but most of my fishing was done in South Mississippi. So I've never fished the Chesapeake Bay.
No, never fished the bay. So then we have Miles. Miles is asking. No, Miles is just saying that he gets bit on a 10-inch more than he gets bit on a 6 or 7, which that surprises me personally. And then we have Dan asking, what's a good bait for southern states? Because I know Dan, and he's down in North Carolina, I think. So right by you, because you're in Georgia, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, we do shows all along the eastern seaboard, from Boston to Virginia to North Carolina to here in Georgia, and by and far 7-inch baits or less are most popular. So that's what I'll start off with, is a 5, 6, 7-inch bullshad. Those are your baits that I would start with, is if you're starting off and wanting to get a bait from us. And slow sink, by the way. Bone is a good color, gizzard color, gizzard shad. Those two colors, gizzard shad and bone, are two best-selling colors that we have.
What's your best-selling size of swim bait? Would you say you sell the most of the smaller ones?
Yes, definitely. 5 and 6 inch, by far. By far.
Andrew, what's up, man? Welcome to the show, man. Late as usual.
So we got we kind of introduced him a little bit at the beginning of the show, but to my left is maybe you're right on your screen, but this is Andrew. Andrew's one of our local guides here. He owns and guides a company called 40 East Fishing. A lot of snakeheads, but he catches a lot of bass too. So that's why we let him hang out with us. But no, he's good people. He's got a pretty successful business, and I know he's a big swim bait guy too. So definitely excited to have him on to get to talk. But I know we talked a little bit earlier in the show, or maybe even before we went live, but I'm not the swim bait guy at all. And I guess, so Mike, when you talk to somebody that's not a swim bait guy, what are some of the things that you tell them that convinces them, like, hey, this is something you need to try, you need to get that in your arsenal?
Very good question. I get that question a lot. And the thing that I can tell them is, what we do at Bullshad is we try to mimic the actual forage that these fish eat every day. Bluegill, redfin, gizzard shad, golden shiners, herring, rats, things that are physically, forage for fish. And what most of the commercial market has is finesse worms, spinnerbaits, jigs, trickworms.
Easy to produce.
They look nothing like anything that they would eat anywhere. I mean, maybe an eel.
Right.
That's the biggest thing is trying to teach them people, is we're trying to mimic the actual forage that they feed on every day. You would be mind blown that that a 10-pound bass would rather have a 8-inch shiner or 8-inch gizzard shad than chase 2 little bitty threadfin, yay big.
There's no return.
Tell people is, this is what they feed on every day. There's no trickery involved here. You're not trying to trick a bass to eat something that doesn't look like a threadfin or a gizzard. This is exactly what they look like. This is exactly what they swim like. This is exactly the paint scheme that they eat on. So that's what I tell people, and it's just, there's really, we're just trying to feed and mimic the forage that they feed on every day.
So to go off of that, Mike, you said before we went live too, that it's not just guys like us that are, weekend tournament fishermen. It's pros as well are not, and like you had conversations with pros, like, this is a thing that you need to add. So I think you said 75% of the pros right now in any given circuit they're not confident with these big baits. So this is something that you interact with them on as well, right?
Right. I mean, I think they're getting more and more educated. I mean, we did a show in the Classic last year. We did one at Red Crest, and we had at least 75 pros buy baits from us. And they all asked intelligent questions, where to throw them, how to fish them, and what kind of retrieves and all this kind of stuff, what time of year, what kind of patterns and stuff. They asked pro questions. And it's surprising to me, because when I've been fishing them for 18, 19 years now, roughly, or a little more, I consider swim baits to be you fish them exactly like you do conventional baits. The only difference is your equipment's a little bigger, your line's a little thicker, your baits are a little bigger, and your reels may be a little bit bigger. That's it. You throw them in the same exact spots at the same time of year. You don't fish topwaters in winter. You can't fish a weight bait in the winter. For most people anyway. I take that up in New England, that's a different story. But you fish them around boat docks. You fish them around grass lines. You fish them around laydowns. You just fish them the same way you do conventional. And you pick your lures just like you do conventional. If you think they're lethargic, you need to pick a bait that slows down. If you think they're fired up and they're hitting topwater, throw a topwater, throw a weight bait, or burn your bullshad on top. Try to trigger a strike. So there's a lot of similarities between conventional and big baits. It's just between your head, between your ears, that prevents you from moving to that next level and being able to be comfortable with these things. But there's really no difference, other than what's between your ears and thinking, say, hey, this bait is bigger, that's a problem. It's really not a problem.
So,
if you throw them, and the biggest thing I see is when people catch their first 2 or 3 fish, all the sirens and all the alarms and stuff start going off in your head. Damn, I get it. And then you like, I can do this. It's just like conventional fishing. But you just have to have that aha moment before you can get there. So getting that aha moment is key, for a lot of people. And I always tell my team, we make a believer, and I say believer, B-U-L-L, right. At the same time. You just got to take each customer, and I've trained so many people through email or through PMs, it's not even funny, giving advice and stuff. You just have to get into their head and guide them and give them that confidence to throw the bait. And just throw it when the fish are active. And I always tell people, if they're hitting topwater, I guarantee you they're hitting a swim bait.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand.
I guarantee you, if you're burning the spinner bait on top, they are hitting a swim bait. No question in my mind. So that's the biggest thing is throw it when the fish are biting. If you're getting skunked with conventional stuff, chances are you're going to get skunked with swim baits too. It's not a magic bullet. But in the right situation, it can outperform conventional. In the right situation, conventional can outperform swim baits. So it works both ways.
We've seen it go both ways on the home water, too.
Mike, we still have a ton of questions coming in. I got to reply back to Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott is the guy I was telling you about the other day that has he does a lot for Maryland bass fishing with stocking the rivers and everything. And also he has the big fishing flea market coming up. That's the one. Hey, Scott, you'll be glad to know that I've been trying to talk Mike Bucca into coming down to and setting up at the flea market there. So that's in the works. He said he goes to Virginia. He's in Richmond a lot. We might be able to make that happen. But Mr. Scott asked, do you have any wisdom on glide baits? Just any kind of secret, something you could tell us about glide baits we may not know?
Glide baits are a hot ticket item right now. They've been a hot ticket item for a couple of years almost. To me, we make 2 different type of glide baits, and those are the main 2 glide baits that I focus on. And you've got the wider glide ones, and then you've got the choppy ones. I'll tell you, the trick shot is a phenomenal bait. I mean, I've seen it catch fish for people that are just flabbergasted how well it does. But really, glide baits are no different than any other type of swim bait you should throw. You just need to throw them when they're biting and throw them where the fish are. I mean, I know that's redundant information, but I do change my cadences up. I do burn it, stop, burn it, chop, and just do whatever you got to do to figure out what kind of retrieve it is. It's really most times it's not a retrieve thing, but sometimes it is. It's more of an area thing for me. But the best advice I can give with glide baits, and it's not really even a glide bait technique, it goes for all swim baits, and it's what I call doing the run and shoot offense. And what that means to me is when you make a first cast at a piece of cover, that is the most important cast that you can make. Second cast being the second most important. Usually on a swim bait, you've either called that fish out on the first or second cast, or you caught the fish. Usually it doesn't take more casts than that. So after you finish that tree, trolling motor on, bandana it high, move to the next boathouse, grass line, lay down, brush pile, make those 2 casts. And I call hit the sweet spots and move. And that's what I do most of the time when I'm fishing offshore. Fishing on the shoreline, is I put the trolling motor on high. I make my first 2 casts, get them in. I move to the next spot. I might make a cast in between just on the way there. But most of my stuff is hit the sweet spot. Make as many first casts in a day, your eyes go up. You keep your bait in that strike zone. Also, and also hit the areas that you do well in. For example, on Altoona where I live, it's 90% spotted bass. 90% of the largemouth that you catch on Altoona are going to be in the very backs of the creeks. And so you need to use your boat, go in there, the last quarter part of the creek, hit the sweet spots in that creek, boom, get out. And move down the other creek arm. It might be a mile, 2 miles, 5 miles away. Go back there, hit the back corner of the pocket, boom, get out. So that will be my advice, is fish as many key spots as possible in a day, and you'll be more efficient angler.
So
that's my best advice.
Run and gun.
So
Run and gun. KVD style.
Yeah, kind of.
We actually have some questions. The viewers, Andrew's got a question.
I got a question. So I think my problem when I threw swim baits a lot, I would chuck it out there, and even if I let it swim, it would just come back up. And not with particularly bullshads, but most glide baits I would throw. You'd have 2 swim baits that look similar, and you'll fish them the same way, have your rod tip all the way down the water. I'll count it down, everything, and by the time it's halfway back to the boat, it's up.
They've nosed back up to the surface.
It drives me nuts. And actually, when I was watching a bunch of your videos, and you had the ones you could tune them and put weight in it and take weight out. So now I got to do that. Honestly, that's probably your answer, honestly, but it's all in the tuning a lot.
Jim Fallon says hello.
So I guess see if you have any tips to help keep them down.
Headwaters or something, Jim Fallon.
It's my buddy.
Oh, that's your buddy.
So,
Hey, Mike, it's not shared on your page, dude. You can go to the page and hit share. Send it over your page and get some more of your buddies
I
on
put
it.
it on my personal page.
Oh, you did?
Should be there.
I don't know, Mike.
I don't
Hey,
get
it's what it is. We got enough. We got more questions
What?
than you can answer right now, anyways.
What I have. Did he answer your question?
I don't know. Yeah, you got tricks
How I
for
keep them down.
yeah.
Yeah. I do a lot of tinkering, it depends on what bait you use, Our glide baits, we have what you call tuning chamber. You pull a pin out, you can stuff it with lead.
Yep.
You can stuff it with tungsten, you can stuff it with split shot, whatever. You can add bigger hooks as well. I'm assuming you're talking more about forward scan, am I right? Forward scan stuff?
So that goes into the question I was going to ask, and I think we can cover both Andrew and I's question. And one of our viewers, Miles, had a good question about live scope, and I'll just kind of take you into my experience with this. Is let's say I do a lot of smallmouth fishing, and I'll have a boulder in 15 foot of water, and I'll throw a glide bait out, not one of yours, because I don't own any yet. I will, but I don't yet. But I'll throw my glide bait out, and I watch it in that 3 foot zone, and I just wish I could get it down to like 7, 8, 9 foot. Do you make a model that is designed to stay at that level for those deeper fish?
I did break it.
Yeah. Yes, all of our glide baits have that tuning chamber that I was speaking of. You pull that pin. What it has is it has a hole in the back of the head, and you can stuff weights in there, and that gets it down last. You can also add suspended strips on the belly. You can also increase the hook size. For forward sonar, I definitely understand the reason why you want to get it down there and get it there. I just did this last week, so people wrap wire around the hooks on both hooks as well.
That's good.
So there's a multitude of ways to do it. Usually the ABS baits aren't as friendly as being able to tune them to sink faster as the custom guys are, especially mine. I'm probably the only ones that has a tuning chamber in their guide because it drives me up the freaking wall. If I make a bait in my shop and I send it to Maine in the winter or somewhere the water's colder, that bait have a tendency to float. If I send that down there to Jim Fallon and on Lake Headwaters, his bait's going to sink like a brick. So there has to be a way. I said, dude, there's got to be a way to tune your bait to the specific specifications or rate of file that you want. And that's how I came up with that tuning system in our garbage, in our wide gods and our trick shads, so that you could alter the weight, or you can actually drill weight out. There's 2 holes in most of them. To where you can get that bait the right way you want. But, I have a box for for winter, and I have a box for spring, and that way, I know not everybody can afford a bunch of these things at once, but I have 2 boxes so I don't have to piddle with it. But if you have one, get the tungsten putty, you can peel it out and you can replace it, and you can move it and put it in other baits, and you can do whatever you want to the rate of fall with a lot of our guide baits. So, but that will be my answer.
I actually, have you guys ever heard of dynamic lures?
No, I haven't. But I'm not a swim-bait guy either.
Well, no, this was actually a jerkbait that they had, and it had a little lip that you could, or a flap on the top, and you could add BBs in it and make it heavier. And they don't make, now they're all like trout stuff, and they don't make it anymore. But I mean, I always said a jerkbait's got the same action as a glide bait I work them similar, or times of years. But no, every time I'd be fishing it, not have a bite, add more weight to it, get it down further, and then I've gotten some quality bass doing it.
Key in on that.
Yeah, it was like eye-opening. Hitting the banks at Loch Raven, and then, that was definitely a learning experience right there.
Mike, in your opinion, how does fishing tidal water, like a stained or a murky tidal water river system, affect the draw and or the catchability of a bigger swim bait? One of the biggest gripes that I hear around here when people tell me that these baits don't work is because the fish can't see them. I know that's not the fact, but that's what a lot of people believe. What do you think about that?
I think you need to throw bigger baits so they can see them.
You said something to me about that. I was like, if you had a big glide bait and it's bone color, like, that's the best thing that they're gonna see. If as long as you can get it through whatever structure there is, a big glide bait that's white, that's got to be seen. Like,
well,
that's the biggest thing with me is, what color do your fish turn when they're in muddy water? What color do your bait fish turn
White.
when they're in muddy water? Bass and forage.
Real bright white.
Yeah, white.
Just get pale.
I like to throw a lot of big bone baits. Even in clear water, it works well. But I like to try to appeal to all the senses. Usually tidal water is fairly shallow. Am I
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Usually 3 foot or less.
That factor there. So if you're in shallow water, your strike zone's a lot smaller, a lot bigger than if you're in deep water. Because you're getting that bait closer to the fish. So shallow water, appeal to all the senses. A knocker would be nice. Something that moves a lot of water, either like a big bait or a 4x4.
boom, there it is.
What do bass do in muddy water? Most people like to flip, right? Flip heavy cover. That's what I designed this for. This is to go over the heavy cover. You've got seen that video that I have in my tank where I put the log across it. That's exactly. This is the giant square bill. Square bills have that lip. That wide lip to help it get over cover, and that's exactly why I designed it.
That video amazes me.
Yeah, and putting a knocker inside of it. So you're trying to appeal to all the senses. White because the fish turn white in muddy water. Deflecting off cover because fish like to hold near cover. Sound, the knocker, or the big bait, the displacement of water. Um, those are some of the biggest things that, they could feel with their lateral line, and they can see it, and they can feel it. So try to appeal to all the senses that you can. I technically like to throw a bigger bait in those type of situations because, they can't see it as well, but it being bigger and being white, they should be able to offset that a little bit. I don't have a lot of muddy water here, but I do have some. Usually when it's muddy, it's chocolate.
Yeah.
Right.
We fish that quite often around here. And hi, Jen. Thank you. Jen says, "Hey guys, shout out to my home state. Grew up fishing the Upper Chesapeake and the Potomac."
Yeah, she's my painter.
Oh, that's the one that paints the baits that we talked about earlier?
Jen,
Oh.
this
I broke Chad's bait now, Phil.
Jen, this is
I gotta
beautiful.
replace it now.
This is one of the best thread fins
What, just the tail?
ever I've ever seen.
I pulled the tail off of it.
Oh.
I thought it
They
slid
should
out.
just be toothpicks. and
Yeah,
you can just-
Rob literally just sat here and broke
I gotta
my
hit
soft
Mike
weight.
up and get Chad a new bait now.
Actually-
I'll hit you up tomorrow, Mike. I gotta order something new for Chad now.
get some
so
new
he don't,
tails.
so he ain't too mad at me.
We can
I
get
got
some
a
new
triple
tails.
trout that needs a tail also.
Yeah.
So, Mike, do you
I can glue that back on, dude.
Nah.
Do you have, and I mean, you're obviously all over the country. Do you have any of your baits that are specifically designed for smallmouth guys? Because I feel like, so one of the first fish I've ever seen caught on a glide bait was a smallmouth when I was fishing with Chad a couple years ago. I mean, I know of one place where guys throw big swim baits for smallmouth, and it blows my mind. But do you have any guys that buy your baits from the St. Lawrence River or from the Great Lakes that throw your swim baits and have success with them? And what kind of characteristics go into making a bait for a smallmouth angler?
What kind of characteristics? Technically small baits for most people. But we've caught some giant smallmouth on bigger baits there. I've been a guy on the Pickwick area. He catches good ones on some 8 and 9 inch bullshads, 6 pounds plus. But most people like smaller baits for smallies. The burrito that we make is a great bait for smallmouth as well.
Eddie's got a good one, good smallmouth, like a 5-pounder out of Lock Raven on the burrito.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I made a little video on that actually.
5-pound smallmouth.
Yes.
5-pound smallmouth.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he actually got a this was on a Savage Gear line through the 10-inch. He had a 6-pound smallmouth.
That was like 7 or 8 years
That was
ago.
yeah. I was working. He's like, you gotta come take a picture of this freaking
Yeah,
out.
that's a Maryland giant.
Dude, that's a
Yeah,
massive
it's like almost
smallmouth.
unheard of.
Especially in a reservoir.
No,
Yeah.
this thing was Seeing
Also, smallies and I'll put spots in the same category. Those guys are way more aggressive than a damn largemouth ever will be.
Oh, yeah.
They will hit bigger baits on a largemouth and not even think twice. I mean, I fished my 11-inch trick shad and I've caught 2-pound spots on that thing. Those things are super, super aggressive. There's no give in those guys. And smallies are right behind them. If I had smallmouth, I go up there to Tennessee and fish for smallies a couple times a year, and those guys are the same way. Don't let the size fool you on a big spot or a big largemouth. I've caught some giant spots on big 8-inch baits. I've caught some on Huddlestons. They work really, really well.
The old HUD.
Do you usually use braid for your glide baits, or are you more of a big fluorocarbon guy?
That's a good question. I've been doing this for 16 years now, and I'm still, to this day, a student of the game. I don't have any binders on for anything, or at least I try not to. But I have almost converted 100% to braid over the past year. My buddy Jim and Kenny down at Headwaters, they taught me some things. They said, you know what, you're really not losing as many fish as you think you are, as far as them being able to see the line. In some cases, they will see your line, don't get me wrong. And the second that I see that I think I'm losing fish because of my line, I'll put a leader on it or I'll change it back to mono. But I've been a mono guy for years and years and years, and it works really well.
Oh, so awesome. You will do straight braid.
There's advantages and disadvantages for both lines. You know, you got the stretch factor. You know, with mono, you need to make sure your form is 100% correct. You can't have your rod tip off to the side. It has to be almost facing the fish so that you could get that full swing into them, get that stretch out in the line, and get that hook side into the fish, especially when you're hooking these 3 or 4 ounce baits 50 yards, you know, making those super long casts, which is what I do a lot. But I came into a situation last year where I was just outgunned, for lack of a better word. I went into the river system for stripers, and 3 casts in a row, I had a 25-pound plus striper hit my bait, and I'm in a river that's probably 30 yards wide, full of 8 ounce and shallow. I'm in a jet boat, and took me into a lay down, and I just could not turn it. So I tied me another one on there twice. Wham! Same thing. Pow! Into the lay down. And I said, I can't do this. I mean, I just can't turn them. It's just impossible. No matter what rod you have or whatever, they ain't just going to go with it. So then I decided to go to 80-pound braid. And I've never been taken advantage of again. And I'm sure I will one day. I mean, 30 or 40 or 50-pound striper, you know. Those fish are powerful, you know. It's overkill for bass, but the reason why I like the bigger braid is because of cast-offs. When you start using 50, even 65 a little bit, when you throw these heavy baits, your line tends to dig into the spools. So that thin diameter, or you hook a snag, or you hook a fish, you know, sometimes when you throw rattle traps, you throw it and it just hits the water right in front of you because your line dug into your spool. When you do that with a 3 or 4 ounce bait, you don't get that privilege. Your bait is going to keep going, and you're going to cast it off. So, yeah, so it could be an expensive lesson, but, you know, mono and braid both work. Pick one that works for you. I don't like fluorocarbon. I love fluorocarbon for finesse fishing, but I don't think it can take a hit over and over again. I don't think the knot strength is there long term, because that knot is always torquing on that line tie. And I'll give you a little tip that will help you with a lot of things, is put a split ring on your line tie. And what that does is you're tying to the split ring. Your split ring's taking the brunt of the force on the line tie, and not your knot torquing back and forth, sliding up and down. Every time that thing slides up and down, you're burning your knot. You're losing your knot strength. So let that split ring, some people use a snap. Snaps are fine. They get to be a little bulky. Sometimes with guys, they fish a little funny. If snap's your thing, use it. If the bait works like you want it, use it. I like using a split ring. It's a little less invasive, and it's easier to find. I've got thousands of them, so I just use split rings instead of buying snaps. But you know, a snap or a split ring help because of that knot torque, and that goes for both mono and your braid. Another tip that I have is I look at my watch or my phone every even hour, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I retie, whether I've caught a fish or not. If you're going to spend that amount of time fishing for a trophy fish, you need to put the odds in your favor, you know, and not be lazy about tying your knots over and over again. You know, there's just no excuse for cast offs or non-breaking. You know, there's no room for error when you start catching it. You get a shot at a 10-pounder, whether 1 time, 2 times, or no times, 3 times a year. It needs to count, you know. So put the odds in your favor, and you know, split ring and change and tying your knots over on every hour. That's a good habit to get into.
I throw with a snap, so I am definitely going to look into just going with a split ring on some of my baits now. And I have also been told two different times now by professionals that fluorocarbon sucks, and I guess I need to start throwing my glides on some braid.
Crankbaits too, apparently.
And my crankbaits.
Straight braid on a crankbait.
What's that?
You said straight braid on a crankbait also.
From David
That's
Fritz
what David
himself.
Fritz told us.
From David Fritz himself.
David
I
Fritz
used to
said
always
throw
just
your
kinda-
crankbaits on braid.
I used to get snagged all the time, so I would just throw straight braid because then I'd be getting my stuff back, and everybody thought I was crazy back then.
I throw mine on braid. I did
I love
anyways.
straight braid. It's the easiest thing to deal with.
David Fritz told us you could feel the bite better.
Yeah, that too.
If
It's
you
more
throw your
sensitive.
crankbaits on braid.
Done stretch.
Yeah.
100%.
Since we were
I mean,
talking, go ahead.
If fluorocarbon works for you, by all means keep using it. There's some of the best swim bait fishermen I know use fluorocarbon. I just can't get it to work for me.
If you got freezing cold temperatures too, you're gonna want fluorocarbon.
I've flipped
Right.
with fluoro.
The braid will just bring the water up and start freezing in your guides.
Yeah. We don't all fish in the snow like you do, Andrew. So.
It's been a while. See, all my swim bait days were years ago, and then I got the boat and started going tidal water and stopped throwing glides as much.
Yeah. That someone had a question about that. Are you catching snakeheads? Because we know you're a snakehead guy.
I have not gotten any snakeheads on a glide bait. No, I think someone said something about Tom Over. I think he has.
I think Tom Over actually asked that question.
He asked it. Oh, I thought he's gotten one on it before.
I think Tom Over asked.
Tom's caught them on glide baits. I've caught them on glide
Really?
baits.
Yeah. Okay.
It was
I
a
haven't
rhetorical
caught one on a bull glide yet though. With this edition, that's going to happen. Do you have any snakehead fishermen that come to you specifically for baits to target snakehead up north?
I don't think there's a fish that we haven't caught on, or something. Not me personally, but some of our customers. I know we've seen a couple of swim bait snakeheads on that we put on Instagram, but I don't know of any hardcore snakehead guys per se. But I know they've caught them on it for sure.
Tom says he caught what kind of glide was it, Tom? He said he had a 35-inch snake on a glide last spring. That's a big snake. That's probably 10, 12 pounds.
Oh, you know, Tom, he bring in. He's a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'd whoop my no swearing, whoop my butt any day.
Who all is in the studio? What the hell is Martin talking about?
Who all is in the studio? This is Andrew Martin and
yeah, used to be.
It's insane, Martin Payne.
let's see.
So one of the questions that we had for you, Mike, is what's the deepest water you think you've ever caught a fish out of using a swim bait? Or have heard of caught using a swim bait?
I think we've caught some on 25 feet with a burrito. I know I've caught some 25 feet with a glide. The burrito fish was in Mexico. We fished burritos deep there, 30 feet. It's probably about the deepest we normally go. But 20 is very common for burritos to fish down there. But for forward scan or fishing points or scrolling or any of that kind of stuff in the glide, I've gone down to 20 feet fairly often. It's just very boring and specific bite, but it's summertime last resort. There ain't nothing else is working type deal. Where you just put them down deep and you just fill them full of that and just let it sit there. But I also make long casts, and I cut my motor and I take the boat and I just take all mine off and I just spend the next 10 minutes just letting it sink, working it, and it's just sitting out there in oblivion. And you catch so many fish doing that. It's just boring, but just doing, to 25 feet is probably about the norm, about as deep as I go for most part.
How do you track where your bait is in the water column? And like Andrew kind of asked earlier, how do you make sure that bait stays in the water column that you want it to be in without using forward-facing sonar?
Count. I'm thinking.
Without using forward sonar, you don't. Unless it's got a lip on it, how deep it goes. But forward sonar is what I use it most of the time. But I mean, that's just one of them. The other one, you're just blind fishing. A lot of times you just want it to get down, get natural, and you just want to. The thing I think why that strolling thing works so well is just that there's no. It's kind of like deer hunting. If you're able to drop in from a drone really, really quiet in your stand, nothing feels on alert or anything like that. I just think that's another level openness that the fish have, that they don't have to be aware of. They haven't heard any negative cues. They don't hear a trolling motor. They don't hear a sonar or somebody bouncing around in the boat. But I really have no way when I'm fishing that glide that deep. I really don't, other than when I'm fishing forward sonar, I really have no clue how deep it is. But I do try to get it deep. Deeper. If I hit the bottom, okay, I know I have a general idea of how deep I am, and I try to keep it about a couple feet off the bottom. It's difficult with a glide bait if you're doing that. That's just a whole nother level of glide bait fishing that a lot of people don't do. But it's very difficult to tell how deep it is if you don't hit the bottom or have any kind of forward sonar.
Do any of your baits have does this have a rate of fall?
Well, when you make glide baits, the weather has a lot to do with when you make them, the humidity. When you pour all this stuff, all the ingredients, you weigh everything, the 4 or 5 ingredients that you have in there, and you pour it in the mold, and you bring it back, and the ballast is weighed particularly well. You pull it out of the mold, and you weight it, and it may sink like a brick one day. The next day, you weigh the same ingredients, and you put them in the mold, they may float. So, what we do at our shop is we tune the baits to sink relatively slow, like really what I call a true slow sink. It may even be an extra slow. The problem that has is like I said earlier, when I send the bait to Maine or I send the bait to Florida, the weather is going to make the density of the water, colder water dense, is going to make it float more. Hotter water is going to make it sink more.
Yeah.
So what we do is we get it close. It may barely float in Maine, so it requires a minor adjustment. It may sink a little bit too fast in Florida, so it only takes a minor adjustment to get it right. So we get it close, so we do the brunt of the work at our shop. There may be minor adjustments depending on where you are, to pulling the pin and doing the thing. But it's a small price to pay to be able to get a bait. If you have anybody else's bait, you're stuck with that rate of fall. If it sinks too fast, there's no way to fix it. Unless you're drilling through paint, you can't get to the guts. You don't know where the valves are. Holes are pre-drilled for you. You can't add any weight other than hook. And I will say, when you add a bigger hook to a glide bait, that is a significant amount of weight to add to a bait. The difference between a 1 and a 1/8 hook is several grams. That's huge in glide baits. Your bait just went from a slow sink to a fast sink, and like that.
Just by changing the hooks.
Not anything in between. So, but we try to get it close in our shop. And if anybody has any trouble with the rate of fall of our baits, I'm here to help. I've got a video that I readily share with people on our YouTube page that shows you exactly how to do it and why it happens. So I've actually did a video on heating some water up and putting in it cold water and that kind of stuff. And you can see what temperature has an effect on the same exact bait. Put it in cold water, put it in hot water, and see how it sinks and how it floats. As the temperature varies.
Mike, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite color that you ever came up with? Favorite
Bone.
color? That what? Bone? Yeah, makes sense.
Bone.
That's mine too.
Yeah, bone is the go-to color. Yeah, bone is that color. I think Chad. We probably got more questions on here. I haven't been. Who is Andrew? Martin's trying to be funny. Stripers love the 4x4.
I don't know who Martin is.
You know him.
I don't know anybody.
Yeah, you know him.
So, Mike, for a new swim bait fisherman like me, and I've seen this not with me throwing the swim baits, but the guys that
Are you going to throw swim baits this year?
I might. I can be convinced. I could be convinced.
I mean, you can even get like 2-pounders on them all the time. Like,
You can't
All the
throw
time.
them like
Yeah.
a frog,
All the time.
dude.
Come
You
on.
gotta
No.
So, when you have a fish following, what do you do different with the cadence? Do you speed it up? Do you kill it? Do you slow it down? Because I've seen multiple times a big fish, a big 4, 5, 6 pounder following a glide bait, and they won't grab it. And is there a trick to get that fish to commit
Figure eight.
when they're following it?
That's a very great question. I get that question a lot. You can usually tell by the mood of the fish if you're going to catch that fish or not. If that fish is right on the tail of that bait, that fish is very catchable. If that fish is 2, 3, 4 feet behind, you ain't gonna catch that fish. That fish is mildly interested. He's just there to intimidate you and just checking things out. Having said that, there's a bunch of different things that I like to do. Number one, I think one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest things that I've learned as a swim bait angler that I didn't think was important was boat position. A lot of conventional guys, they get an easy casting distance from this dock so they can be accurate and really, get the corners really, really well. I'm just the opposite. I like to get another 30 feet back. So I'm making 40-yard casts at docks instead of 20-yard casts at docks. So what that does is it gives the fish more time to eat your bait, and also hopefully it prevents the fish from seeing you. Because if you see those 4 or 5 pounders, I guarantee you they see you. So making sure your boat position is off on the dock is very, very important. Number two, if you see that particular fish come up, there is a possibility that you might be able to get him to come up again. If you've seen your boat, then you need to come back an hour or two later and hit that fish from a different angle. If you hit that dock's 90 degrees, come back over here on the side, hit it from the side, go down the face of it instead of down the side of it. So create a different angle, possibly with a different bait, and you may get him to bite. Another opportunity is to come back at night. Nighttime's a good opportunity. They just lose their senses at night, it seems with swim baits, especially rats and stuff. So night fishing is a good way to do it around it. That way they don't usually see you as much. One other technique that I've found that really works is take your 908 Dobbins, chuck that swim bait over there. I know the 908 might be a little overkill for the 7-inch bait, but do it anyway. Chuck that 7-inch bait, stick that rod tip down in the water, like a kneel and reel, like you're doing a powerhouse kneel and reel. Get that bait down there. Get it down deep and keep that rod tip down. They can't see you that way either. So, being able to get that glide bait deeper is something that a lot of other anglers don't do either. Most people fish glide bait, they fish it on the surface most of the time. I would say at least 80% of them fish them, you sight see them. You see the fish hit, but there's a whole another avenue this year out there where you can fish them deeper. They fish just as good deep as they do up top. The action may be a little bit more subdued, but they do bite them. I mean, you see it on forward sonar all the time. If it's funny, you see forward sonar fish, those fish aren't coming up to hit a glide bait up on the surface. If you throw that fish over the fish in 20 feet of water, and you're working on the subsurface, and they don't come up, if you throw it over there and you let it sink, 10, 15 feet, they come up. So that just goes to show that you need to get it in their zone of where they're at. So deep glide bait fishing is really an art that really hasn't been out there a whole lot from what I've seen, that I think you'll start seeing a lot more and more people use in the future.
One of my favorite instances of learning how to use a different cadence to get a bite is actually with you, Tony. If you don't remember on Conowingo, when I was throwing that hot pink shortcake, and I unfortunately lost the bait that day, but I was throwing that bait out there, and remember watching like those schools of 5 or 6 smallmouth just follow that bait right back to the boat?
Yep.
And then you would see these fish just follow it right back to the boat, and once they would kind of see the boat, they would just fade away. And it's incredible how those fish just disappear down into the water. And then I would cast back out again. I would do another bomb cast and change my cadence a little bit and maybe let it sit there farther away from the boat. And that's where those bites came from.
Right.
Somebody did ask about rod and reel. for
Yeah.
for throwing big swim baits. What rod setup do you like to use, Mike?
Let's keep it for your 7-inch, for your 6 and your 7-inch baits, burritos, trick shads, maybe even like an 8-inch. What's your rod and reel setup for that? Because that's more the confidence area for a lot of people.
For the 8-inch, you want the rod for the 8-inch?
Yes, yes, sir.
Let me break it all down. I designed 2 rods for Gary Dobbins. It's an 835 and an 836. The 835 is 1 to 5 ounces, and the 836 is 2 to 8 ounces. So there's a little overlap there. So really, you can use both rods for those particular baits that you talked about. And how would I use one over the other? The 835 is a little lighter than the 836. That's the only difference. The 836 is more versatile than the 835. So, I've got a lot of 836s and I've got a few 835s because I throw more bigger baits toward the 7, 6-inch, 5-inch, 5, 6, 7 ounce spectrum than I do on the lower end of the spectrum. So I usually throw the 836 for most of my stuff, but I use the 835 for the smaller stuff. But they both work. But those rods have a perfect overlap to where you can use them for both.
What does
I
the
love Dobbins rods. By the
what
way.
does the 7-inch trick weigh? What is this, about 2 ounces?
That's like 3.2 ounces, I think. So
3.2.
you could use the 835 is a great rod for that. The 836 will work too. It's on the lower end of that spectrum, but the 835 is more in the meat in the meat potatoes of that rod for that particular bait.
Is
How
there
sick is that
reel?
paint?
Certain
It's
reel you
dope, yeah.
prefer, Mike?
I want to see the part.
What reel ratio
Reels?
do you think is the best?
I like. I've tried them all. I've got a Mod Podge of different reels. I've tried practically every reel out there. I like the Tutulas. The
I started liking
Tutulas.
them.
Yeah.
I like the 7-to-1. I'm not going to say anything bad about any other ones. They all work. Some of them you have to clean up right out of the box to get them to spin like you want them to spin. So if you have a good rod guy, a real repair guy, or you do the bearing thing, clear, flush the bearings and stuff. But 7-to-1 ratio is a very good ratio. In fact, I've had a lot of smaller gear ratio. I've had 8-to-1s and I've had 5-to-3s or 6-to-3. I've converted damn near all of mine to 7-to-1. I sent all my reels, instead of just buying new reels, selling the reels and buying new reels, I sent them to my Michael Mello, and he changed all my gears to a 7-to-1 without me having to do a whole bunch of reel swaps and stuff. So then I have a couple of smaller gear ratios that I use for burritos, for snow and for the live gizzard and stuff. I probably use a little bit 6-to-3. But 7-to-1 is my meat and potatoes. That's my Tatula 300 with the 7-to-1, and that Dobbins 836. That's my main go-to rod and reel setup.
Will you throw your burritos on those same exact rods, or will you throw your soft plastics on something different? Because your characteristics of some of your single hooks and your treble hooks applications are different.
Yeah, the 836 is a good rod for burritos. It works well. You just have to make sure that you get your hook set in there and you really crank them in. Don't give them any leverage at all. Just really grind them in and not give them the ability to jump, because when they jump, they're going to throw that thing. But it's got enough backbone to throw an 8-ounce bait, but the burrito only weighs 2 ounces or so. So you're overpowering. You're making up for that, for the softness and the backbone of that bait, because it already goes to 8 ounces. So it's almost like you have 2 rods in one because of that. So you're able to throw 8-ounce baits on there, but you're throwing a 2-ounce bait on it. So it's almost the same exact rod as you're using for a stout rod.
You got a lighter?
I do. Oh, you need it. Chad's got a
Do
bottle
you
opener somewhere.
do you have a 8-inch soft plastic or larger? Or your
Looking at that
burritos
the
the
whole
biggest
time.
soft
I was
plastics?
gonna do that
We've got a new 8-inch
That's not a
chimichanga.
lighter.
It's a performance bait. It's a heavy sucker.
So it's a 12-inch bait.
12 inch? No, I have 11-inch trick. That's probably the biggest bait I make is 11-inch trick. I've got a 10-inch wide glide, but I haven't released it yet. But I've got an 11-inch trick shot that I've just revealed. That's my biggest
Yeah,
bait.
the 11-inch. That's big. What is your biggest soft plastic?
The 8-inch burrito.
The 8-inch burrito. The 8-inch burrito.
Somebody did ask, and this question's already been answered. Is the burrito your bait? But
We
it's
collab
kind
with
of
someone.
already been answered. It very much is so. That question was asked. Somebody, I don't know what else we got. Chattulas all the way. What else we got? Shad. A lot of people commenting on rods that they like.
So while they're looking at comments, a lot of guys that watch our podcast are tournament fishing. We're all about the big 5 fish. What's the best 5 bass limit you've ever caught or heard caught on some of your baits?
My best 5, 46.
Wow.
I was like 30, couple over 30. I was thinking about it.
I like to catch that bag in a Thursday nighter.
Yeah.
Right.
That was 3 or 4 years ago. We go to Baccarat Lodge every year to Mexico, sometimes twice a year. And we have a lot of fun down there. And I've got on one of the best swim bait bites I've ever gotten on. And it was just insanity, you know. I was the only one that was really catching them on the swim baits because a lot of times, you know, a lot of the guys really don't get the burn type retrieve that's required for that I do on the bullshad, and I was doing that, and we were pretty much calling our shots almost, and we didn't catch a lot of fish, but the ones we caught were giants, and I've never been able to duplicate that again. It was just a one-trip deal for us when we caught them really, really good. Now, I've gone down there and caught some more on swim bait, but just nothing like that day, that trip. But each day, see, we fished 5 days. 4 of the 5 days, I had 40 pounds. The 5th day, we were messing around and got 36.
What is insane?
We're messing around, got 30. We only got 36 that day.
Yeah, whatever. It's, you know, it's
Hey,
nothing.
look, I would die happy after that week. Hey, I'm good. Like, hey.
What is can you explain now I know you have a video on retrieval and everything about it, but can you explain that bullshad retrieval to us? Because
Is that a burn pause?
that burn pause is, I think it blows a lot of people's minds how fast you actually work that bait to trigger an explosive bite.
A little story. I went to, there's one of the guys that uses my baits. I think he's one of a boat or two with them, and he's in Texas, and he buys his baits from me, and he, you know, I can't use any of his pictures, you know, and stuff, and he tells me things, and I just don't use. I respect his wishes. But, you know, I saw him at ICAST. He said, Mike, even if I told them what I was using, they still couldn't catch them. And I said, right then and there, I knew what he was talking about. And it's the retrieve, which is super, super important on the bullshad baits that we have. What the retrieve works is you're reeling it up near the surface. Sometimes you're V'ing it on the surface, or sometimes just a little bit below. It's not necessarily a burn. It can be a burn, but it's more important to keep that thing up high. 95% of the fish that you catch on the bullshad, you're going to see them hit it, just like a topwater. They're going to swirl on it, roll on it, or whatever, and you just lean into them. And that video that I did with Matt Allen was also struggling, you know, and I took his best buddy out there to one of my local lakes, and he made the comment, he says, I'm surprised to see how fast and how shallow you're fishing. And once those guys got that figured out, they started catching fish, you know, and it's just not to say that you can't catch them on a slow retrieve, because you can, but it works best when you reel on top. We are in with the kayak guys very, very well. especially the ones that fish the rivers. And the reason why we're so in with them is because they're forced to fish that bait the way that it's supposed to be fished. You know, you can't just line ag a bull shad through the current. It's just gonna, like that. If you give it some juice, it's gonna be upright and it's gonna go straight through that current. So you have to do that thing a little bit fast in the current, and that's exactly how you're supposed to fish the bait, and that's exactly why they get bit so well in the current. Is because they're able to fish that thing the way it's supposed to be fished, the way I designed it to be fished. I don't know why they like it. I think my reason is when a meal goes over and they need to make a decision whether they want it or not. You'd also don't give them a good look at the bait too. Seeing the hooks, seeing the joints, seeing the some things that the paint might not be quite real. But if you're reeling it fast, it's a blur. So it forces the fish to make a decision. So that's the theory of why I think the faster retrieve works.
Don't give them time to think about it. Just let them react to it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We got any more questions for Mike?
Yeah, I'm trying to look.
There's a whole bunch. They've been coming in pretty rapidly, so it's hard to keep up. Oh, good Lord, there's a lot of stuff on there.
Oh, did you ever thought about making something weedless? I don't know if anyone's ever seen this. I've seen some.
The bullfrog.
Right. No, okay, so I've been seeing something on Instagram. It's a hard bait, and it's literally split in half, and it's like spring loaded with an EWG hook that as you yank on it pops it up, and it's.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at anything hard bait wise for weedless. It's doable. I just haven't messed with it a lot. I don't have a lot of grass here. I know there's a lot of grass.
Yeah, that's all I fish basically.
But I think, there are some other baits that are better suited towards plastic, and that's just one of those particular techniques. We make a weedless back attack, which is basically a burrito that is weedless. We haven't really released it yet, but we're fixing to. It's a fantastic bait.
But that's more paddle tail, right? I'm thinking like a glide bait.
It is paddle tail. It is, yes. It's not a frog or anything like that. It's basically, it's just basically a shad weedless bait.
Okay. I was talking something hard.
Me and Mike's gonna hook up and make the bullfrog, dude. So let's wait, it's coming. Hey, Mike, people want to know where can they buy your baits, man. So perfect time to let everybody know where they can go, and then get your baits, and they can get your merch and everything.
Bullshad.com.
Hey, we already know, but hey,
Bullshad.
put it out there for everybody.
I got it up there, and for anybody that's watching, the link to his website is up there in our comments. Click on that and order away.
I gotta order Chad a new bait now. I'm kind of hurt.
Now we just
Don't
gotta.
worry,
I just gotta
man.
get some new tail for it.
I'll tell
I
you
got
what, there's
man.
one in the pond that I lost.
I'm gonna get something special for you, man. I'm gonna talk to Mike. I'm gonna hook you up, man. I'm gonna buy it for you, but then we have to give it away on the show.
Okay.
That's the deal.
All
Let's
right.
do it. We'll do it. We'll
Do a little Bullshad giveaway.
Yeah, if Mike give me like exclusive,
Maybe a little
I get
five
exclusive, and,
inch bait giveaway.
something nobody's ever seen before, something like that. And we do an exclusive Bass and Bear Bullshad. Hey, look, man, we'll talk about that, Mike.
Right.
I gotta replace. I pulled the tail off of one now. He's like mad at me, so
I'm not mad.
I know you're not mad at me.
You can
dude.
fix that easily.
I love you
Yeah.
too, man. Oh boy, hey Mike. So this is going to be the craziest question all night. But when you're not throwing a big swim bait, what are you throwing?
Ooh,
Or do
good
you
question.
just always throw a big swim
A
bait?
bigger swim bait.
Does Mike Bucca
bigger
ever go
swim
out
bait.
flipping?
I was thinking this earlier, actually.
Most of the time, if I'm not fishing a swim bait, I'm fishing a hog farm or a rig.
Okay, so which is still a swim bait.
Big fish bait.
You're big. Yeah.
Yeah, a rig. So
So
you're
you're swim bait, but I'm fishing a hog farm or a rig is what I'm fishing most of the time if I'm not fishing a swim bait.
So you don't
it's
have a
just
7
good.
foot heavy. Or,
what about like
medium
spinner
action.
bait or crankbait or anything? Does Mike Bucca throw a crankbait?
I mean, I don't throw much conventional at all. I had a boat fire 10, 12 years ago. I lost every single conventional tackle I had from when I was guiding. I had thousands upon thousands of Lucky Craft. Lost it all, and I really never replaced it.
Oh wow.
And I've got my conventional tackle is extremely tiny. I bring some stuff when I go down to Florida. I'll have some frogs and some round traps and stuff. Or when I go to Mexico, sometimes I'll have more conventional tackle from Mexico than I have any other place. But I mostly throw my big stuff. I'm a hardcore trophy angler. I want to catch the biggest fish. If it's not 7 pounds, it's a dink.
Damn.
Wow.
That's a good way of putting it, but that's just my goal that I set for myself.
That's a good goal.
I mean, if I had to pick something to throw all year round, it would probably be a glide bait or something. If I could only pick one bait, that's
Yeah.
the only thing I think that you could actually go all year round with.
If a 7-pounder is
Maybe
a
not in
dink,
tidal water.
I
but
gotta
it's
step
what
up
it's
my
called.
glide bait game. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's just Maryland. That's just Maryland.
I gotta
I've called
step
one
my
7
game
out
up.
of Maryland.
Cause I catch a 5-pounder, I'm like dancing on the deck. I'm like, hey. So to catch the biggest fish in our river, probably would be. So have you seen this is gonna be so. I want to say that glide baits and big swim baits are super popular here. Like we have our swim bait guys. But you think it's possible to throw it like in this kind of area? And is it the way to catch the biggest fish in the river? You think? 'Cause I'm about to go start throwing one. See if
I'd
I can
say
get
it's
the
top.
state record. Is it the way to get the state record? 'Cause
I'd say that.
No, you go fish
that
a farm pond in Maryland to get the state
Nah,
record.
I'm not fishing no ponds. That's cheating, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cheating. Nah, if I catch it, I want to catch it in the river.
You're probably not gonna get the state record then.
Yeah, I know. Hey, look, I can have dreams, man. Let me dream.
the state record is on a military base where we can't get to it.
Yes.
I can get to it.
Yeah, you're in the military.
All right. Yeah.
Our state record's like 11 pounds. So Mike would be like, that's a dink, dude. Like, y'all got
You
a
can't take
little
a
dink
photo
first.
of APG though, can you?
What's your PB, Mike? What's the biggest bass you ever caught?
I got a 10-11.
10, 11.
10, 11? That's it?
We were expecting like 21 pounds.
I mean,
Yours is 8 in Texas.
yeah, I had an 8-pounder in Texas.
According to some of them,
was on a glide also.
them limits Mike had, he's had almost a limit of 10 pounders before. Like 8. Got 5
Giant.
8s, dude. You catch an 8
Yeah.
pounder around here, you're going down in history.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I caught a 7 out of lock.
Yeah, that's not an 8. No, I'm just kidding. A 7 is very. I caught close to a 7 in gunpowder. My last PB was almost.
Didn't you have
7
that on
pounds.
video too?
Yeah, it's on
Yeah,
video.
yeah.
I caught it on a spinning rod. I never throw a spinning rod. Fishing sucked that day. I picked up the spinning rod, one cast, boom, almost a 7-pounder, dude. It's like
Hell
614 or something like that.
On the spinning, that's
On the
sick,
spinning
though.
rod, I had no business or no right even catching that fish. I didn't deserve to catch that fish, but I caught him. So hey,
Did something right.
yeah, hey, I did something right that day. I don't know, dude. Like, the 6-pounder I caught before that, I totally deserved. It was right in my wheelhouse, doing my thing. That was just like, man, this day sucks, and I threw it out there, and boom, 6-pounder. Holy shit! Like, so hey, you never know, man.
When you least expect it.
You never
So,
know. Bait
Mike,
I
do
never
you-
throw, rod I never use.
Do you fish any tournaments or at all, or are you just out there looking for those giants? Do you ever jump in a tournament here or there or anything like that?
I haven't fished a tournament in years. The last time I fished a tournament was probably with Ryan Coleman, and we won a boat on Lanier. So that was before Bullshad. That was 20 years ago at least. And I haven't fished a tournament in years. I'm strictly a trophy guy.
Are you still guiding? You still do any guiding?
No,
I actually did want to ask
haven't
questions
gone
about that.
No.
How long did you guide for?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I used to guide on Ross Barnett for a little bit when I lived in Jackson, Mississippi. I got a little bit on Gunnersville part-time, and I got it on Allatoona for 10 years or so.
Oh, wow.
So, I've had a lot of guiding, but I haven't done, other than personal friends, I haven't guided in years.
Any tips you could give for a new guide?
Start making swim
I mean,
baits.
I try to talk to every captain I can possibly. I mean, that's the only way I'm gonna learn.
Start making swim baits.
I make hats. You want a nice hat?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I get a hat, dude.
No, yeah. I mean, any tips?
Have your content, have good content on your Facebook page, have good content on your Instagram page. We try to post twice a day, every day. I know that's kind of hard for a guy to do because you only have one trip a day, but we try to keep our social medias up. It's free advertising. Use it. Social media, TikTok,
Yeah.
all those things. I always tell my team, it's the sum of the parts that make it work. There's not one thing that does a whole bunch of things for you. It's the sum of you get a trip or an impression from Instagram, you get an impression from YouTube, you get an impression from Facebook. It's the sum of all those things that make it up. Do podcasts with people, do interviews work with the media, talk to your newspaper guys, see if you can do fishing reports for them every week or something like that. I did that for years and years and years. It might be there might be a website local to you that has weekly fishing reports. You could do the snakehead report for them or a bite or a particular lake. Anything to get your name out there.
Don't be shy, I guess.
He dropped some juice right there.
Yeah.
Headwaters
That was
headquarters.
marketing 101.
Headwaters headquarters said you got a guiding job down there if you ever get to Florida. They said you got a job. There's a whole bunch of job offers
Me?
coming in right now, Mike.
Tessa, if you're watching, we're going to Florida.
yeah, you got. You got people like Mike. How do you say that? Bert Butte. He's like, let's fish some tournaments. Like you can go with him anytime. Like you got all kind of requests now, dude. Mike just wants to make his swim baits and go catch trophies, dude. He's good, and go to Mexico apparently.
Yeah.
Right.
Next time you go to Mexico, dude, we're coming with you. We'll make a whole video.
Burritos in Mexico.
Burritos in
Mexico.
And don't forget the riverboat Rob / Mike Bucca Bullfrog. It's coming, dude.
It's coming.
So, I'm doing a group to Mexico, Baccarat, November 28th through October 28th through November 3rd. So we're looking for people that want to go. I'll be there. The accommodations are fantastic. Very, very modern accommodations. Cold AC, hot showers, margaritas every time you come in. All the beer you can drink.
There you go. See,
You can drink all day long.
yeah. Beer and tequila.
All day long.
Coronas?
Oh no!
tell me
I ain't drinking no tequila all day long. You can
I
forget
quit.
about
I had
it.
to quit drinking tequila. It was going to kill me, dude.
I don't think I got the Tecate stuff or some other beer. They may have
Tecate?
for sure. But good
Dude, if you're
food.
serious, we should go, man. We should go.
Do we need to bring a boat?
I'm going. I'm going to fish with Mike, dude.
I got a boat.
I mean, do we need to bring a
Oh,
are we
no
towing?
boat. You fly in. You can bring your rods or you can rent rods. The only thing you need to bring is your reels and some tackle. They have a tackle store there, and it's got everything you need in tackle. It's even got bullshads and burritos in the tackle store.
There you go.
That's all you need.
That's all you
Yeah,
need.
a little bit of swimbait history. The Bucca burrito was born on Lake Baccarat. That's why it's named or tested, I should say, on Lake Baccarat. That's why it's called the Bucca burrito.
There we go.
That's where we test. That's where Shad and the gang over there, and Brian and all those guys, they tested the burrito for Gale, and that's how it's somewhat got its name. But if you guys are interested, let me know. I've got plenty of openings. We just started opening the trip a couple months ago, but it's up and around October 20th to November 3rd. It's not a cheap trip, but it's a trip of a lifetime. And the lake is skyrocketing right now as far as quality of fish.
Wow.
They're catching sometimes 150 fish a day. I hope it lasts, but the quality of the fish, tons of 5s and 6s, and you got a very, very, very legit shot at 9s and 10s. Very legit shot.
Do you think that this forward-facing sonar and swim baits are just going to go hand in hand forever now?
That's a good question. There's a handful of us still that are using the swim baits for forward sonar, but I think the vast majority of people are still using the little sissy stuff.
Me.
So that's a good question. It's going to be up to the fish, I mean, the A-rig is still going strong. It's not as strong as it used to be. Sooner or later, these fish are going to get educated, and they're going to be a little bit harder and harder to catch. So, I mean, I try to relate that story to a pond that I used to fish. It was an 11-acre pond. And when I started fishing it, I was loading up on them, several 5, 6, 7 pounders a day. And as I overfished it, they got harder and harder and harder to catch, to the point where you struggle to catch a 5-pounder. And I think that's a small microism of what you're probably going to see on the forward sonar type thing. I could be wrong, but those fish offshore have never been tapped before until the forward sonar thing. So those are a different group of fish. I mean, of course they go onshore sooner or later, but that's a different group of fish that are not being harassed in that particular portion of the lake. So that's a tough question. We will see. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, nobody knows the answer to that question. The future, we shall see how things happen.
It just seems like these big profiles are just able to show up so much easier on that forward-facing sonar, and man, you're just able to watch how fish react so much more to your different retrieve styles, your different cadences.
And if anything's going to get a follow, it's going to be that. And then
Well,
you're going to see it.
Yeah,
and then as soon as you get a
absolutely.
follow, you can see it and then just
It's a
work
good
from
search
there.
bait. It's a good
Yeah,
search bait to
yeah.
draw them out
Yeah.
to see. Do you have a follow-up bait, Mike? Actually, that's a good question. Like when
Yeah.
you do see one come up after it, you got anything you throw, like a Cinco or something, if they don't hit it? For those followers?
He
He's
laughed
like, no,
at that Cinco
he's
comment.
not throwing Cincos or crankbaits or anything. He's like,
Just
nah.
an-
I don't own the Cinco.
So you just cast back at it, or
Go collect dust off of my conventional rods. What little conventional rods I have, but I don't toss anything at them. I really don't. There's some tricks and things that I've used over the years. I like trying to, if you take your glide bait and you tie a knot, a leader on the back hook of your glide bait, and you put a feather treble on the back of that, so like a little teaser, and that works sometimes. It's a good tip to try, is just put a little teaser behind that. They might be a little intimidated by the bigger bait, or they just don't want to chase a bigger bait down, but they see that little offering behind it, so that's a possibility. But I don't usually throw anything at them other than big stuff. It's really, really difficult to get a bait that's coming behind you 2 or 3 feet, not wanting to chew. It's just really difficult. It's been brutal to try to get those fish to bite. Other than coming back another day or later or at night or at a different angle. Sometimes those things work. So
yeah, you did mention that earlier. You said if they're right on the tail, then you got a good chance of getting them to bite. But they're like a foot or so behind it. That fish is probably not going to bite anyways, right? So, yeah, you did say that earlier. That's a good tip right there.
It is a good tip.
It is a good tip. So like I don't know, me personally, and things I have heard. I'm not a huge swim bait. I'm trying to get into it. Talk to Shad a lot about it, trying to educate myself more on throwing big baits. But I mean, I hear a lot like if you're in a tournament, I know Mike does the fish tournaments, but in a tournament, get your limit, then break out that big swim bait, try to upgrade, right? So
that's normally what I do around here. In the Thursdays, I have called a couple fish by. We will catch our fish on conventional, and then as soon as I have 3, I will not pick up another conventional lure again. I will throw a glide bait or something of that nature only.
Try to get that kicker in the
And
boat.
just try to get that kicker in the boat. Because a kicker itself will put money in the boat.
I got this tournament plan. It's perfect, dude. I catch my kicker first, and then I got 2 more in the boat. I'm good, dude.
I'm just going for big snake.
The plan is go for the kicker first, and then you can relax. It doesn't work out though. Usually I catch like 5 2-pounders.
Right.
Jim says if they've seen the boon, they won't hit it again. So throw a shad colored one and speed up cadence. It's a reaction bite.
So basically change the color. Oh, yeah, that sounds. Like
The best advice I have that I've ever been given about tournament fishing, came from Gary Dobbins. And his motto is don't fish chicken. Fish to win.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Don't fish chicken, fish
Fish
the
the
wind.
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
That's pretty good advice, actually.
I'm gonna get that tattooed on my arm.
I had a whole lot of chicken last year. And not a whole lot of wins. Nah, that's not true, man. I had a bunch of. I didn't get no first places last year.
I had a whole
lot
lot.
of
neither.
seconds and thirds.
I had a whole lot of goose eggs last year. I can tell you that
I
much.
tell you, when Andrew show up, you know, like big snakehead is like.
It's all
I got lucky, dude. I ran to Dundee and got one.
I don't know
fish.
how you do it, dude. Like every time, big snakehead.
No,
Dude, I came in-
someone beat me by half an inch last time.
I came in one week with a 9-pound freaking snakehead. Like, oh, I got big snakehead, and somebody had a 10-pounder.
Really?
Yeah, and beat me. I was like, there was no way I'm not getting big snakehead.
My favorite one was last year when you came back to the ramp and Rob's all excited. He comes up to Paul. He's like, bro, he's like, got this giant fish. Definitely, like, got this big bag or whatever. And he's like, Paul's like, how big is it? And Rob's like, dude, it's definitely 5 pounds. And Paul's like, well, that's not big
enough.
That's not big enough.
They called a 6-pound. They called a 6-pounder in
Just-
that tournament. That was 2 years ago. They called a 6-pounder. So
of course
I'm
Paul
like,
did.
I got big bass.
Of course Paul
Right,
did.
I got like a 5.5-pounder. So I'm like, I got big bass for sure. And like Paul's like, how'd you do? And I was like, dude, I got like a 5. He's like, oh, it ain't gonna be big enough. I was like, what are you talking? He's like,
could
dude,
see-
we got one like over 6.
You could
Like,
watch.
"Oh,
You
shit,
could watch
man."
Rob sink into himself.
Yeah, just crushed my whole soul. I was like, ah. Because I actually caught 5-pounders 3 tournaments in a row. Like
Yeah,
2
you won.
years ago. I was on a roll, dude. I was catching 5-pounders like they were. It was a given. Like it was like I was.
That's
at
a
horses
dink.
off
That's
my
a dink
ass.
according to Mike. So.
That's a dink. That's a dink for Mike, but that's a big fish in our
That's a
area.
big. That's a big fish
Yeah.
in the
5 in your
Gunpowder
six, man.
River, dude.
You're doing something.
Well, there was a 9 caught in the area, like Victor.
I don't. I'll tell you
we're
about
not-
it
we're not
later.
going
It
there.
was
I'm
almost
just-
a 10.
I'm just in the.
It was caught in the Upper Bay.
Upper
on,
Bay
on
area,
the
that's
shaky
all I'm
on the
saying.
shaky head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, shaky head.
In the Upper Bay. That's where it was caught.
You didn't even have to say that part.
We don't know
None
how
of that
true
is
that
true.
is.
Is the point.
Well,
I just
That's
knew it
the
was
story.
north. That's all I know. Is
I
it's
was
north.
there.
do you guys have any more questions for Mike? From the crowd watching, do you guys have any more questions for Mike?
Double check my.
We've been hanging out with him for a while now,
We
and I
got,
just want to make sure that we don't intrude our time with Mike.
Look, first of all, Greg agreed with me. Get your kicker first. Danny Webb wanted to ask, do you fish glides or bullshads on rocks?
on rocks, I fish them both.
Fish them both.
I actually, for me, when I fish rocks here, we have a lot of riprap. I also fish the rocks a lot in the wintertime. The reason why I like the rocks in the wintertime is usually
They get warm.
try to fish the sun hit rocks first thing in the morning because those fish will try to move up and get acclimated to the rocks, which are conductors of heat. So I try to fish parallel bluff walls almost. When I mean bluff walls, I'm talking like 45-degree angle bluff walls. And I try to fish very, very close to shore. Put the boat up against the bluff wall and throw right down the shoreline. I'm fishing 2-3 feet off the bank the whole entire time. So I fish a lot of rocks. I fish a lot. 4x4 is a great bait for that. Those fish are up shallow, trying to get into the warmer water. When that sun first comes up, that's the first part of the lake that hits it. So I call it. That's usually my milk run in the morning is to fish the sunny rocks first. And what lakes I do have rocks in. You know, I have a lot of lakes that don't have a whole lot of rocks, but for spotted bass up here in Altoona and near, they have a lot of rocks and stuff that we fish. But that's what we usually do is we fish those parallel to those bluff walls and stuff and try to take advantage of the little extra higher water temperature there. So, good question.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Grumman
But
just
I
said
think
4x4.
we're ready to wrap things up. Are we? Or
Yeah.
gonna keep rolling. We don't keep Mike up too long. Take
Yeah,
up too much of your time, sir.
I think we could wrap things up, Mike. We really appreciate you coming on the show and answering just a barrage of questions coming at you in endless amounts of different fashions and just can't thank you enough for coming on our show. We really enjoyed it, and we would love to have you come back on again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just let me know. I'd be glad to.
All right.
All right, man.
look,
Let me know when you
know
want to catch
what
some snakeheads.
You know what we did not mention, but I got to put this out there. We are the very first podcast that Mike Bucca has
I know.
ever
I saw
done.
that. I was like,
We
what?
are the
He's
first.
never been
Mike
on a podcast?
Bucca showed us the love. We were the first.
Yeah,
we the
that's
original.
awesome,
man. It
We
is
are
the
the
love, boy.
OGs.
Honored.
And just stay tuned for that riverboat ride, Mike Bucca Bullfrog
He's
combo.
not
It's
letting
coming,
that go.
dude. I'm
He's
gonna
not
go
gonna
home
let it go
and get in
now.
my garage, and I'm gonna start putting things together, Mike. I'm gonna send them to you, dude.
So,
hey,
we
thanks
are-
again, Mike.
We are going to cut Mike loose, but then we are going to go back to our normal camera, and I think we are going to break down some of the things that we just discussed. So tune in if you're interested to that. But thank you, Mike, very much, and we will catch you
Yeah.
next time.
Thanks, Mike.
That was dope.
That was awesome.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
That was really cool.
I'm freaking out right now. I really wish I could have got this lower
I'm going to
third.
smoke a cigarette, dude. You can keep the podcast going.
Are we still
Talk to
staying
Andrew,
live?
but I need a smoke, dude. It's like been like
Dude,
it's
I've
like an hour and a half.
I've gone like 2 months without a cigarette. I'm dying.
Do you want one or
Don't
not?
do
No,
it.
I've
No,
gone 2
don't
months
do
without
it.
a cigarette. I
Don't
gotta
do
keep
it.
it going.
Keep on going.
It's since last year.
All right, then, dude.
All right, everybody. So we're back.
Here.
We're hanging out on the
No, that
main
ain't it.
screen again.
Hold on, I might have something.
We just had so
I'm not-
much information come
Wanna
through.
hit that.
I'm still just trying to process all
Captain
of it.
don't smoke.
Jen, thank you for joining
vape?
in. I appreciate
Yeah.
you
Oh,
joining
hell yeah.
in.
It's pineapple
Oh.
coconut. Too.
I thought it was
Yeah,
something
yeah,
else.
pina colada, dude. Like, hey, maybe that might help you. A little nicotine hit. For
Yeah, yeah.
Jim,
You
Jim,
can't keep
appreciate
that, but you can hit it. Sorry.
Jim, appreciate you showing up. Danny, what's going on,
Like
man?
that?
Jen, thank you.
I might
Jim,
have to
thank
hold on
you.
to this
Adam,
for a
good to
second.
see you.
Don't let me forget though.
No,
I need that.
I won't. I don't need this shit in my life. Oh, no
Man,
swearing.
You get those for like $30.
And we're still hanging out. They're gonna go
I
out there
started-
for a little sig break, but
I started to do the Joel. That shit messed my chest up too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Hold on.
actually, you know what? I'm going for a pee break, so we will be back
Just-
in 3 minutes. Here's the timer. 3 minutes. We'll be back for bait discussion. Let's go.
No. Where's the other?
You gotta go to.
And we are back. I'm gonna make a camera adjustment real quick.
I would say Tony's.
What about
I'm
that
gonna
camera?
Close
Right,
that. Yeah, I'm gonna
You're not
add
on
that in
camera.
right here.
Dog's in here too. How long did it take you to get all this stuff set up? Like,
Man, Chad's a wizard. with
Dude,
this
I
stuff,
still screw it up. Freaking
I mean, just like all the equipment, had to take a little bit piecing it all together.
Dude, he's
kinda, yeah, just a little bit, dude. I did months of research on what I needed, and I kind of just like ordered a bunch of crap at one time.
Yeah.
I built this entire computer just to do this.
Was
you
those
always
months of research
Where did
video
you come
gaming?
from?
You're getting all wrapped
A lot
up,
of it.
baby.
Being a PC gamer.
I was gonna say, do you have
internet.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
gonna. Okay.
Yeah.
You were always into computers. Or something.
Man, welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Bucca. Man, that was a
really
good
cool.
interview, man.
That
It
was
really
awesome.
cool,
Absolutely
dropping the
awesome.
knowledge. He's got me like I'm about to buy a bunch of big swim baits now, dude. Like I don't even know.
I'm about to get back into it.
Like my brain is exploding. I don't know what to do on
My
that.
personal opinion and my experience with swim baits in general, Mike makes one of the more user-friendly baits. In my opinion, they're priced more fairly. This trick shad is definitely one of his more expensive baits. It's also a custom paint though,
What's
and
the
a beautiful
ballpark?
custom paint at that.
Yeah, but they're
What's
like.
ballpark price on that bait?
This was $200.
Oh yeah, that's pricey. But I mean, he's
That's
got
not
bait
But you
nearly
can
as
get
bad.
glides from him for like the 50-60 range, right?
Yes.
Same thing you would pay for like a
no.
Chad shad or something. Right?
And actually, one of the things I wanted to, he actually released an HD bull rat tonight at 8 o'clock as soon as we went live.
Oh, really? Like
Yes.
HD, like heavy
Looks
duty, big one?
phenomenal. Looks phenomenal. Like, so he's got the bull rat, but now it's an HD bull rat. It looks like it's got fur on it, and it's like, dude, it looks killer.
Well, he
I
was-
wanted to
HD
say
is in
something to
high
him, I was like,
definition, not heavy
yeah,
duty.
I was literally so close to being like, Mike, I need you to take one of those bull rats and throw it underneath the desk real quick. and
Well,
just
he
forget
was
about
telling us that one of the viewers we had tonight, Jen, she does a lot of those graphics and stuff for him,
Oh,
right?
yep,
And
hang
paint
on a
jobs
second.
and
I'll
everything.
fix it. I always do this.
What's wrong? They can't hear us.
I just didn't turn off the mic thing.
Got two turntables and a microphone.
There we go. It should be fixed now. This is, like I said, every time I do this, I have some type of audio issue.
Oh, yeah.
We fixed it.
It's a lot. It's a lot, man. You put in work, dude, man. You don't get enough credit. Chad be putting in work, hours of work, man, to bring this to you. So, hey, me and Chad talk like every day about, and we grind like daily.
That's how you
on
gotta do it,
trying
though.
to make
Like,
things happen.
It's
Yeah.
one little step every time with anything you do, and it takes forever.
It's a grind, man.
Just
it's a
what
grind.
what an awesome interview with Mike. And Mike, like I said, Mike makes one of the most user friendly. He makes some stuff on the pro side. He makes user friendly stuff. He makes stuff that range in that $60, $70 range, all the way up to that $200+ range. And I don't care if it's down in that $50 or $60 range, or if it's in that $200 range. He said still echo.
Yeah, Dan said we're echoing. Hey, while Chad's fixing the echo, real quick, man, if you guys like that interview, you want to see more stuff, first of all, follow us on Facebook, but go over to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel, man. Show your support, show some love. And while you're there, you might as well just go over to Riverboat Rob and hit that button too while you're at it.
40 East Fishing.
Yeah, 40 East Fishing. Hey, look, man, we're all family. We love
Yeah.
these guys.
Hell yeah.
Dan, is
We
that any
appreciate
better?
it. We still got Echo Dan, or how we sounding, brother?
I think
We gotta
I
have
just fixed
Dan
it.
on the show if he comes to town. If he ever comes
Dan is
back to
on.
Maryland, we gotta have Dan on, dude. I gotta send Dan some chatterbaits. He won a thing on my page. So I owe him some JDM chatterbaits for replying to a video that I posted. So Dan wasn't the only winner. I still gotta select another winner when I get to 600 subscribers, but Dan's definitely won one. So
On YouTube,
yeah, on YouTube.
I'll subscribe.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to get into that stuff too.
Are you on? Did you subscribe to mine?
I'm just like getting. I've
Oh.
got like 3 videos posted.
Yeah. Look, you can't win the chatterbait if you don't subscribe, dude. That's all I'm saying.
The JD. Dude,
Thanks
I
for
want
the follow,
chatterbait.
Martin.
I'm not telling nobody what it is until
Martin
look,
Payne.
man. When I hit the mark, I'm gonna do a whole video on it. and
Somebody fart.
The dog.
Oh man.
Is that what that is? Because I was like, is there a cigarette burning in my pocket or something? Like, what the fuck is that? Oh, I cursed. Oh crap! I gotta put money in the swear jar.
So I gotta say,
damn.
since we're on the topic of Mike Bucca, we're not gonna stray off. We're staying on the topic. The Bullshad 4x4, and just the regular Bullshad and like a 5-inch and that 6-inch platform, I think are some great starting point baits. And then also you want to get into what are some of his glides that he has? The Trick Shad is more expensive, but he has a couple.
You mentioned the mini
He's
Bullshad.
got a couple glides that are a single joint glide
I don't
instead
know.
of a multi joint bait.
That would be a question I would ask you.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm
chat question.
just not. He used to have different Bullshad gills and.
Can you go on the website on this one?
Yeah, let's go on this website,
Yeah,
man.
we can check out the website.
Let's check out this website.
Let's check out the
I was
website.
glancing at it. I can't remember. I can never remember names of everything.
I'm a new swim bait guy, so I'm a flipper. I flip a jig all day, so swim baits is a new realm for me.
Okay, so are we allowed to say like the pond? Y'all know what the pond is.
forbidden zone.
That's the forbidden zone.
we call it.
Okay. There's a 8-inch bullshad in the woods, like all the way in the back. somewhere.
It belongs
That was
to you.
mine. Yes.
I'll
that was
go
probably
find
about
it,
3
dude.
years ago. One of
So-
them right there.
I want to go over it right now. You got your Bullshad slow,
See, look,
Bull
50
gill
bucks.
slow, Bullshad knocker, your Bull herring.
That's
your
a good
50 and your
price.
$60 baits. They're great baits. They're the 6-inch profile. You have your 5, your 6, and your 9.
So these are all the multi joints. What's the glides?
These are all the multi joints. Oh, does he have any freaking bull rats on here right now? The HDs?
The new
Look,
ones?
Chad's. We're supposed to be showing y'all stuff. Chad's
Hold up,
getting ready.
dude. Hold up.
Chad's
No,
getting
dude,
ready
he
to buy
straight up
stuff.
did a bull rat drop tonight.
Chad's getting ready to
Burrito
order.
bait. Here it is right here.
Oh, that's the new one.
Here's the new HD bull rat.
Oh, that does look good.
That's a
That
pretty
is-
nice looking
that's
lure.
pretty dope.
It's kind of similar
first
to the
color.
Riverboat Rob
He's got the
Bullfrog.
mouse trap.
I like
Yeah.
that. Hell yeah.
That's funny.
Kind of what I'm thinking on the Riverboat Rob. Mike
140 is
Bucca,
a decent
Bullfrog.
price.
And honestly, before the grass comes in, like you could use that anywhere.
Dude,
But
so I
even
was
then,
gonna-
like you could do the $55 bull rat right here. I don't know what the difference is. I have not thrown either one of them honestly, but they're fantastic baits. Mike
I like
Mike
those.
sells
I've
nothing.
Seen, I've
yeah,
seen those in person.
Yeah.
Eddie's caught a few on them.
Mike sells nothing that's of bad quality.
I'm a nerd out for a second, but do you know that frog fishing? You know, it started with a rat. It wasn't a frog.
Right.
On Gunnersville.
Who?
Dude, I'm gonna do a whole video on it.
Who's the? I just saw a video about the people that made the frog. And
They made it was a rat that they made first. It was like the grass was so thick they couldn't fish it, and then they made it what we call a frog now, but it looked like a mouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really how modern day frog fishing started. I'm gonna do a whole video on it. So I got a video coming out on the sumo frog too, probably this weekend. So I know I'm nerding out, you know.
So we talked about some of Mike's soft plastics at the end, and man,
So the
I would have my
burrito-
overlay in here right now.
So Chad, the burrito, and it looks like what the nacho, they're all soft plastic swim baits, right? Mm-hmm. I like the names, dude. Mike must really like
Dude, the
Mexico,
4x4s.
dude.
I'm a car person.
Yeah,
so
yeah, he's got the 4x4
Yeah, that's
for the-
sick.
yeah, that's
and it
all-
just rolls over anything.
The
It's
all-terrain,
Genius.
all-terrain 4x4.
Genius name.
The 4.5, the 5.2s, the 6-inch, and the 8-inch. They're all great, phenomenal baits. Like he said earlier, he's working on releasing a weedless version of the bait, and I'll
Yeah,
sell
I'd like
some of the
to
clamshells for him.
The bullfrog.
Like here's your 8-inch, his 8-inch version of the 6-inch burrito. Oh, there is no description on this. I was wondering how heavy it was.
I thought he had glides too, just like a single joint.
Probably down in.
I swear, I just looked at.
Well,
it. Yeah.
okay,
yeah.
so Chad, let me
Trick
ask
Shad.
you
Okay,
a
that's the
question.
trick shad.
Let me ask you a question real quick, Chad. As a amateur swim bait guy.
You owe him a tail, so you
If
should
you're
probably
gonna
just-
buy
Yeah.
one, if you're gonna buy one, you're like no to it. What would you get? Like, what would be like if you were not a swim bait guy, and you just was like, hey, you know, I'm trying to get into it. what would be like your
Besides
pick?
this?
If you had to pick one of Bucca's baits, what would you? What would
one
be
of
your
his
pick
baits.
for your new? Like a guy like me or Tony that don't really throw them. Like, what should we go
Out
buy?
of Bucca's
Yeah.
base?
Because I already know, like, get an S-Waver or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
I was
but
gonna
I'm
say
saying,
S-Waver
if I want to step my
Sounds
game
good.
up and I wanted to get something nice.
That trick shad. I don't know.
The trick shad?
I like the single like
I'd
glide
say the
baits
trick shad.
over a multi joint.
Yeah. So,
I-
like, a trick shad would probably be the go-to.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
might have to get me a trick
Me
shad.
personally, I like a single joint glide bait.
So, and the thing is now
They cost that much
My
if I
buddy,
cast
my
mine.
buddy Alex taught me something about these glides the other day. Actually, he picked this glide up for me, and he was talking about adjusting the actual tightness of the glide
By
by
following it down. in
Yeah.
there?
no by
You can
pulling.
right
You can
there.
pull the pin on this, and then
And then tighten up.
you can tighten or loosen the eyelets, which gives more gap between your split. So if you tighten that, you're going to have a much tighter pattern. But if you spread it apart a twist or two, you're going to open up your glide to be a little bit wider.
Mike has some of the
Adam, what's up, man? I'm reading your comments. Hey, thanks for the shout out. And yep, Adam says 6-inch bullshit.
That's right, it's the best rat.
So
Mike.
that's very interesting, dude.
Mike has some really good videos on his YouTube explaining literally everything he just said to us and more, like how to adjust them, how to tune them. Like,
Dude, I talked to Bucca.
he's got the
5 times
science
this week.
down. He's got.
He's a great dude, man.
Yeah,
He's easy
yeah.
to talk to, and he likes to educate, as everybody's seen tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, some like a lot of companies just throw that bait out there and they're like, oh yeah, you just swim it slow or something. Like,
It's been knocked
he
off,
literally
hasn't it?
talks about where your rod is in the water. I don't know. He's got a Dude,
has-
I
he's got-
watched his YouTube for like 2 hours before I like came on.
That's
here.
one of his things that I really enjoy about him is his instructional videos are very good. He goes in depth on how to use some of these baits,
And short and
he encourages people, and he gives people the knowledge and the encouragement to go out and throw this bait and get confidence in doing this. And I'm not saying this is something that everybody needs to be. Well, you should have something in your boat tournament wise, but I'm not saying this is a tournament bait. I'm saying this is a tool that can be utilized, and I think every angler should learn how to utilize this bait.
Honestly, and when
There he is right there. There's Alex. Thanks for joining, Alex. Alex is another
What's up,
swim
Alex?
bait guru who Alex picked up this shad for me
Oh, there you go. All right, cool.
and taught me how to tune this bait a little bit, and just so many things. But he's got great instructionals. He's a good dude. He was more than willing. We could have had Mike Bucca on a
Alex-
live stream 3 times before Friday.
Yeah, Alex nailed it. Alex is like nicest dude in the business. He is. He's a real good dude. You know, Matt Herron, our buddy Matt Herron too, man. Let's wish him luck on the Elite Series. He's about to get a top 50, hopefully. Our other buddy Logan Parks. Have you guys seen this? I think he's in like 14th. Yeah, Logan's killing it. Friends of the show, man. So we wish them both luck. Both really good guys. We like to get. We'll probably have both of them back on the show at some point.
I would imagine that I would love to have Logan, and I definitely know that Matt will probably come back.
I
on the show.
wish Matt a lot of luck because he had a lot of, his truck broke down and his sponsors had to loan him their truck. Like he's been going through a lot during this tournament, but he's about the top 50. He should be fishing day 3, hopefully. And one of the best dudes, Mike Bucca, definitely one of the nicest dudes.
Nicest.
Matt Herron, that's our buddy, So hey, let's wish him luck, man. Let's root for him.
We're getting ready to shut this podcast down here, but I just gotta say, thank you guys for supporting us very much, man. I appreciate each and every single one of you for coming on here every single Friday night when we do this and conversating with us, interacting with us. Thank you for interacting on our page throughout the week on some of our posts. It just makes everything a lot more interesting and just gives us more to go off of, and we depend on you guys for growth, man. Your likes, your shares, it matters big time. And it's getting to the point now where dude, we've had Matt Herron, we've had David Fritz, Denny Brower, Mike Bucca. We've had some fire names on the show. We're starting to get noticed now, and that's because of you guys.
How's
And
it feel to be though? Hold on, I gotta say this.
Hang
Don't
on.
give it up
All
either,
right,
dude.
go ahead.
Hang on. I just want to thank you guys very much for supporting us and just keep interacting with us. And we're starting to get noticed now. We're starting to pick up some steam. We've had some hammers come on the show, and we plan on continuing to bring more hammers and more people to bring you guys some more information on the show. And we need you guys for that, and we just can't thank you enough for sticking beside us. What do you got to say, Rob?
I forgot. No, how's it feel to be Andrew and Riverboat Rob when we got to share the spotlight with Mike Bucca?
Yeah. I was like, this is not about me at all. I'm just gonna sit here in the corner and listen.
Hey man, look, dude, look. Hey, you could be like, I know Mike Bucca. Like,
I
hey,
apologize.
No, dude, no.
Hey, look,
no,
when you get
So, I mean, originally
Coolest
tonight, before we
experience.
end, originally tonight, I had scheduled Andrew to come on the show, and we were just going to hang out with Andrew and talk about 40 East fishing and what he's got planned for 2024. And then Mike Bucca hit us back, and he's like, let's do it on this date. And I was like, I'm not telling Mike Bucca no.
I
So,
would
like,
do,
you know
I
what
would
I
do
mean?
the
Like,
same thing.
So we asked Andrew, and Andrew was like, "Hell yeah!"
I'm down.
So Andrew had to share the spotlight, but we'll get you
No.
back on again, man. And
I
make it
was
all
gonna
about
say
that,
that's just
dude.
an excuse
Yeah.
for me to come back because dude,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
fun. Drinking beers, talking fishing.
I
yeah, man.
absolutely love
I'm
it. I
not
enjoy
about,
it.
Hey,
Ain't mad
look.
about it at all.
Look, me too. Riverboat Rob. I was like, hey, I got to share the spotlight with Bucca. I can't,
Yeah.
like, you know. Like, yeah.
So before we end this thing, I just want to say tonight's interview is sponsored by UMA Lure Company. We appreciate Tyler and all of his balsa wood fire that he puts out on the market. Thank you, Tyler. We are also Tailored Lures.
One of my favorites.
He could tell you a lot about that.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Model
Wait,
D.
where is it?
We sent some to David Fritz, and we sent some to Matt Heron and,
Yeah.
and
The
Danny
Danny,
Brower.
yep.
So
The Model D bladed. is-
yeah, they're throwing them. They're throwing them, dude. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna follow up on that. Ask them how they like them. Get some feedback. Maybe even get some video feedback from them on how they like them. So
That'd be awesome.
yeah,
I got a whole video of them.
yeah, everybody's fishing. You know, tournament season started, so it's a little
Right.
tough right now.
Yeah,
You know,
Groman, dude, it'd be fun to have Groman on. Me and Groman.
Me and
Down with
Grimster are talking about doing a riverboat walkthrough for the jet boat,
Oh yeah.
and then just
We
talking
should-
about some other stuff.
wait a minute. He's
Can
got
you
the
do
guy
this
that's
live,
got
like
the.
not in studio?
Is he the
What's
guy that's
that?
got the jet
should-
ski boat?
Yeah, he's got
That's
the
him?
Yeah.
Oh, what's up? I
yeah.
didn't even know
Dude,
that was him.
yeah.
You can hear
I've
him
seen-
coming
yeah,
from 2
yeah.
miles
I talked
away,
to him
bro.
on the river before.
Yeah, dude, we're gonna do
That
a
shit is
full. We're
badass.
gonna do a full jet boat walkthrough. It's got like
We
a
should just
1200.
start walking through everybody's boat, like.
Oh, dude, we're definitely doing Paul's boat. Paul's got
yeah,
the
the
new
new
Skeeter.
one. Yeah.
We're gonna do Adam's boat. You know, we're gonna check it out.
Hey,
Mine's a little custom.
I got some
I got
Trick 10 hatches coming that are going to be installed.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we do a video
Yeah,
on
boy.
that too. Yeah,
That's tight.
yeah, Matt at Trick 10.
That was actually a
hooked me
dope
up.
show. I was bummed because every time I forget to watch it on Fridays, but I was like, I gotta watch the Trick 10s ones because that was a cool dude.
Super cool dude.
Yeah.
Trick 10's was
Yeah,
tight.
yeah, Matt
Yeah.
from Trick 10 super
I'd
cool.
like to learn some stuff from him about working on boats because I love
Man.
being handy and
He is like so there's Tiny Boat Nation and that's like some DIY shit.
Yeah.
But Matt from Trick 10s is like
yeah.
Scott, I
Dude.
think most of us will definitely be there at the MR Bass Fishing Flea Market next week.
I know
or
me and
next
you are gonna
weekend.
be there.
And as soon as we end this podcast, I am going to start broadcasting the flea market.
I got some
for all next
giveaways.
week.
The
I'm trying to
stuff I'm
actually
bringing, I'm
sneak
just
into
giving
that flea
away.
market,
What's
too.
that?
I might be in the parking lot of the flea market. I talked to Scott at the last show, trying to squeeze in there. And I'm gonna have my little poster up in the.
It's
truck
warm
in the
enough. It's
parking
warm
lot.
enough to be outside.
Yeah,
It's
whatever.
warm enough.
You're
Well, I
always
had-
coming. I don't know where are we? What are we like?
You guys got a table?
in the closet? They put us in the closet.
I'm in the class.
We're in the corner. We're in the corner.
We're in the corner. I got the stuff I'm bringing. I'm giving away.
And before I forget, I
Going to ask
also
some
I
like
want to
trivia
thank
questions or
I
something.
want to thank Bass Munitions Lures, Bass Munitions Soft Plastics. Mr. Larry Payne has been supporting us for a long time now, sending us some stuff. He's also worked with Tony on developing some new stuff.
I want a tournament.
Can't wait. I'm
Dude,
telling
the
you.
old, can we say what it is?
We can say what it is.
We got the old goat pecker coming.
So we got the goat pecker.
pecker.
We got the goat pecker
Uh-oh.
and the Tennessee special that are coming out. This is Mr. Larry and I had a conversation about this last fall, and he kind of had something in mind already. So he put together a really awesome worm. I got about 5 packs of either one of them, and I'm really, really excited to try it. I got on a lot of good fish last year, fishing slow. So I'm pretty pumped to incorporate these baits into the arsenal because they're awesome. And there's a few colors that only I have right now. And we're going to see how long that lasts. But
Is it the Tony Pecker?
So
it's called the Tidal Water Special.
When did you plan on bringing those in to share with some of the other fellas on what you and Larry have developed here?
So I went and bought some of the ones off his website and some of the regular colors. He's got some that he's going to send to me to try out. So once I get those, I'll probably bring them in. You guys can check them out. But
Let's go.
I'm going to fish with them hard for a couple months before I put them on the spotlight. So I got to keep a little something for myself. But they are awesome baits. The best part about Bass Munitions is more bang for your buck.
For sure.
Like $5, $4 or $5 get you like 10 to 12 to 15 baits, Ned rigs, worms, all kinds of stuff, flipping baits, crawls, anything that you need soft plastic wise, especially if you're a finesse fisherman and you really like these, you really like a lot of smaller worms, drop shot and Ned rigs, shaky head, stuff like that. Please give Mr. Larry and Bass Musicians your attention because I promise you they got something for you.
I think it was like 2 years ago that me and Evan won on one of his baits.
Not 4 or 5 of them.
No.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sick.
And hang on.
Me and Evan
I'll
won a
let you-
Thursday
I'll-
nighter.
I'll let you talk. Just let me finish going through the sponsors first. And then our last sponsor, thank you to Trash Panda Dumpsters. We appreciate you guys. Trash Panda Dumpsters has been... oh, look, there's 2 of them up there. Trash Panda Dumpsters has been supporting us since last week. I ordered a dumpster through Trash Panda. He brought it here to my house, delivered it in a very timely manner, very professionally. They're good-looking dumpsters. They're
pretty
like
awesome.
really good-looking dumpsters. Like they are not eyesores in the neighborhood. He came and picked it up in a timely manner, and there is definitely a good chance that I will be using another one of his dumpsters here this spring. I emptied my entire basement into it. My whole basement is empty now.
What'd that
I
cost
gutted
you?
it. So for the 15-yard can, I think it is $400 for a week.
I just got my roof done, and I think they had a dumpster, and it was like 500 or something
Yeah.
like that. I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
Definitely hit up Trash Panda Dumpsters. They're local to Harford County, serving Harford County and eastern Baltimore County.
ripping.
Thank you, Trash Panda Dumpsters.
Dude, I was saying Bass Munitions, me and Evan won like 2 years ago on one of his soft plastics. We won a Thursday nighter on it. And then we got Martin Payne said he's going to be at the flea market. He's set up outside, and he's selling a bunch of Guggen baits, I think. I don't know. But Martin Payne's going to be there. And Mr. Scott also said he's looking forward to seeing everybody there. Hey, Scott, thanks for tuning in tonight, man. We're looking forward to being there, man. And thank you for all you do. And Dan wants everybody to check out Bait Cave Customs. Not sure what that is, but Dan's recommending that site. And I'm not sure.
Bait Cave
Bait Cave.
Customs is another soft plastic.
Is
Cool.
it? Okay, all right.
Maker.
So Dan says give them a look. And I can tell you on Bass Munitions, definitely won a Thursday nighter. I technically did not. Evan was drop shop.
There's been a couple Thursday nighters, one on Bass Munitions. But
I
with
can
that,
tell you one definitely was. So.
Yeah. But with that, we're shutting this thing down. Thank you guys for joining. We will see you guys later on in the middle of the week for maybe another Lure Lounge section. Or
We doing
Tackle
one
Talk.
Wednesday?
Oh, we're gonna do another I'm trying to do it Tuesday. We're gonna try to do another
All right.
Tackle Talk Tuesdays. We're trying
All
to
right.
bring it back. Tackle Talk Tuesdays with me and Rob.
That's right.
So,
Talk and Tackle, I call it because there's already a show, Tackle Talk. So I call it Talk and Tackle.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Catch you next time. See ya.
TNT. Peace.